Hello! Hi, welcome to It's All Comical for November the 19th, 2021. I'm Russ, your Joker in Japan. Late of Guam, late of Texas. Obviously, life is interesting as we're bouncing all around and getting ourselves established. I think things are pretty well. We've been here now since the beginning of September. We're into November, so September, October, not quite 3 months. And Japan is clearly, well, I mean, look, Guam is closer to Japan than Texas is to Japan. But, Guam is still very much kind of U.S., and in Japan, obviously, we have the benefit of being in a small town, Misawa, in the north of Japan, in the Aomori prefecture, and as a result of it being a small town, it's sort of like being in a college town, right? That the Air Force Base here is such a large presence that there's kind of a greater sensitivity to things being a bit Americanized, right? I mean, certainly it's part of the lifeblood of their local economy that they be able to serve, non-Japanese speaking, Americans. And going to the local restaurants and shops and things, while, I can't say, oh, gosh, everywhere you go, there's English signs and menus. Well, the menus, you know what? They generally, most of the places we've gone, they have like an English version menu. They've got and although they don't, seem to. You can't go everywhere and expect there's going to be someone there. Again, whether it's anywhere in service, stores or wait staff, where you get necessarily the English, anyone who speaks English, right? So there's always going to be some language barrier, and those are hurdles that you've got to kind of overcome and work with. So I don't know. As I say, we're getting settled in, though. I mean, I think the house is really, we last night, Amy and I put together a television stand for the bedroom. The bedroom here is not really well configured. We can't. Actually, the layout that I've got in this office, and I talked about this in my last really, really lengthy video, and this one will be significantly shorter, right? I mean, I made a movie essentially last week because I hadn't done this video series. I hadn't had the opportunity in a few weeks, and so I guess there was a lot of catching up there that I was doing, and it really went on and on a bit, but hopefully all of it worthwhile, or at least whatever the ultimate value of doing this weekly vlog ends up being. Hopefully it'll have lots of good stuff in going back in retrospect again. I appreciate any of you who are watching these videos week to week. But for sure, I'm looking at this as something that I'm really just getting started again. The whole point here, It's All Comical. If you happen to just be discovering me, I'm a writer. I'm essentially, this is a little bit part of my audience outreach. It's not glitzy, it's not glam. I don't do, it's pretty much stream of consciousness, and just kind of bringing anyone who it's a little bit of audience outreach and bringing people up to date about what's going on, and so that it's a little bit formless in that regard, but it's mainly about what I'm up to, and my general thoughts. It also kind of began life and will continue to be an ongoing chronicling of sort of personal growth and really weight loss. That's I started this vlog series before it became It's All Comical. I started it back in April of 2021. I started at that point I was 265 and a little bit of change was my weight. Again, I've also mentioned that I think the 265 was, that starting point was already a bit of a drop in from the previous year, where prior to COVID, when I hadn't gone to a doctor. I still really actually haven't gone. I've gotten the vaccines or whatever, but prior to the pandemic, I was going to a doctor regularly. I've got the type 2 blood sugar issue. I've got obviously, and some hypertension related to being obese, and I'm sort of being open and transparent about that, and got to this point of wanting to take control of those health situations. So I know that when like my last weigh-ins at a doctor's office, I was pushing 280 pounds actually at that point. I was like 278, 279. And so, even starting at 265 into a real, focused weight loss effort was already something of, like my weight had clearly, I had become more conscious of just portions in a general way, and and really not being someone who was, weighing myself all of the time or anything, and just kind of, sort of leaving it for my doctor's visits to see where, the state of my health was. Prior to that, obviously I had been doing some things right, because I had just kind of naturally lost a little less than 15 pounds, again, just sort of organically, and not making, much of a dedicated effort to it. But in April, I started a weight loss effort at 265, and last week I reported in, first time in a long time, right? I had left, let's hit the highlights, right? I left my time in Guam, so from April to, the end of August or so, whenever I made my last videos in Guam, I believe I was around 215 and change, maybe 215, 216, somewhere around there. Had a couple of weeks, I talked about this last time, there in that transition period where there was a lot of restaurant eating, and it was sort of, there was some impracticality, and it's a stressful enough time. I made a very conscious decision that, I'm going to do my best to kind of not overeat and, just throw caution to the wind and have as many, Twinkies and desserts and Oreos and, all you can eat buffets or whatever that I wanted to, just I wasn't eating pizza and garbage and but I was eating restaurant food, and I wasn't able to, really be in my regular exercise routine for a few weeks there. And, I just sort of accepted that, like, look, I'm not going to make progress. I'm probably going to put on a few pounds. And sure enough, once I got, but I knew what that time frame was going to be. I was committed to that, never lost sight of it. Again, sort of just accepted that, all right, I'm taking, this whole entire transition period from Guam to here in Japan. There was going to be some time that we were, again, living out of hotels and flying around and not, having the best control over healthy eating, etc. And so why get overly preoccupied with it, especially since I know that there was light at the end of the tunnel. So, we as a family sort of looked at that period as being, you're living out of hotels, and we lived in, we were, in some relatively nice ones in Guam. It's kind of a fallout of the pandemic is some nice high-end resorts were offering some really great deals. I'm sure they probably still are. You know, Guam is a small tropical island with lots of beaches. It's obviously usually a very tourist driven economy, and so you know you've got these beachfront resorts that are sitting largely unoccupied. I mean, they're getting there as everything is sort of getting to that recovery point. But you know, when you're talking about people having to make that special plan, right, to spend high dollars to get on a plane ride to go to the middle of the Pacific to this small island, you know, and it's not a powerhouse economy. Um, Still, it's, you know, you got they're really relying on the locals that live there in Guam, you know, to fill, you know, the restaurants and the hotels, etc. Right, all of the stuff that's usually, you know, the engine is the tourism, and actually, ironically, Japanese tourism for the most part, you know. But you know, so we kind of looked at that whole situation as being something of a vacation, and it got to be a little bit of an eating vacation as well. So again, so you know, we started at the 265 in April, ended my time in Guam around 216 or so, 215, 216, I believe. And once I got back on the stick and even had a scale, we didn't even, you know, like again, we're living out of, I mean, our stuff is scattered to the wind. Some of it coming on a slow boat, some of it supposedly coming. We had a very, you know, we kind of had a misadventure with what was supposed to be our express shipment, right? There's a smaller shipment that they offer in the moving called your unaccompanied baggage, which is supposed to fly out, but the way things processed through Guam, our stuff ended up sitting in warehouses from what, you know, as far as what our tracking was showing us for lengthy periods of time, as it was, you know, having to move into, I don't know, customs things or what, you know, whatever happens, right? As our stuff, as a 400-pound gorilla was jumping up and down on our stuff in a warehouse somewhere as it was being processed, whatever all of that means, blah blah blah. It was delayed significantly. So the amount of, you know, the balance of our stuff on the slow boat, what they call the household goods, the thousands and thousands of pounds of all of your furniture and blah blah blah, the largest part of that arrived within a week of our express shipment. So you know, hey, that's the way cookie crumbles it sometimes. So anyway, so without having a scale, you know, even available, by the time I got back onto a scale, I was at 220. You know, put on about 4 or 5 pounds. You know, when you're in a severe calorie deficit, right? When you're talking about weight loss efforts, at the beginning, right? At the beginning, that from 260, that first 10, 15 pounds came off like boo, you know. When you don't eat well, and then you suddenly take control of your eating habits, you know, and you've got a lot of weight to lose, the weight can come off quickly. You know, and the converse is a bit true as well, right? Your body is in a not a starvation mode, but a bit of a, you know, when you're trying to lose weight, your body is, you know, we're evolved to store fat, right? Our ancestors had great difficulties obtaining food. This is why we have the obesity problem in our society that we have today. Is food is abundant, and especially really, you know, calorie dense, what we call junk foods, right? Very abundant. So anyway, you know, and so, you know, our diets are nothing like, you know, like they would be if we were in the wild and having to scrounge for our food, and we were, you know, incredibly active, running for our lives and chasing after the things that we're hunting in the wild, and, you know, again, scrounging for berries and naturally growing things. We now have farms, you know, I mean, I'm hardly giving a history lesson here, but obviously, you know, I'm just saying this as, you know, that my own recognition of it, and, you know, definitely happier, healthier. Feel lighter. The whole, like the benefits of going from a poor diet to taking control, and that's what we're talking about. Being mindful. I've talked a lot in previous videos, and will always, should always come back to certain themes. And that is one of the things that I am really pleased about in this latest weight loss effort, that I really very, increasingly confident as the months go by here will be a lifetime of reprogrammed relationship with food, and a concern about, my doing my best for my body and in my health, is that there has not been a great sense of deprivation. Part of that is I have found that it's actually like there's a couple of things that I'm doing in my weight loss effort. In a very broad sense, I'm doing what they call intermittent fasting, which simply means, for me, I'm doing what they call the 16-8, and that's, out of a 24-hour day, your 24-hour day, you 16 hours, you don't eat any foods, try to not consume any calories. I drink, this is water, I drink pretty much only water. I've been a little bit of a bad boy, not in terms of weight, but I've one of the things that's been kind of a pleasure for me is I've gotten back into some diet sodas. I drink Coke Zero, but mainly water. It's like 80% water, and I'll let myself drink it. I've been going into diet. And that soda is something that I'm not in love with, and traditionally, but right now they're tasting great to me, and soda I get into. I go with waves. I mean, with soda, I won't drink it for years at times. Like like any soda for years. It's not something that I just love, and have to have. But now that I'm again taking control of my calorie consumption, it sort of is. Especially like Coke, the formula for Coke Zero, I find at least fairly palatable. It's actually, when it's really, really cold, it kind of really takes the edge off of any aftertaste. And for me, so look at me, I'm doing an unsolicited commercial here for the Coca-Cola Corporation, because Lord knows they need it, right? But hey. So yeah, I enjoy Coke Zero, but I try not to overconsume it, and it's obviously it's not anything that gives me calories, but drinking soda is never healthy for a lot of other reasons as well. But hey, I'm not perfect, not even striving for perfection. I'm just trying to do better, and that's one of my ongoing messages is really embrace that wisdom, right? I've talked about the book The Slight Edge before, and it's one I really, really love. For me, the message, the way presented in that book by a gentleman named Olson, wrote the book. So you're looking for, author's name is Olson, the book Slight Edge, and I think one of the reasons that I think that I'm in a really good personal growth period for an extended period of time, really since 2015, and it's really accelerated here in the last year or so, has to do with kind of absorbing those sorts of ideas about that perfection is not something to be sought, really, right? That and that's kind of why I think we end up failing a lot, is because it's got to be all or nothing, and I certainly have been that kind of guy, right? When it comes to my eating, if I it's very difficult, for me to wrap my head when I've been dieting, right, in the past, to loosen up and go out and enjoy a meal out, or to take a break from that and enjoy Thanksgiving, or a feast or whatever, and just realize that, look, no, you got to keep kind of big picture, and it's about incremental steps. It's not about throwing the home run ball. Well, I'm using that as a football metaphor, right? Not a. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about in baseball. I realize you hit home runs, but in football we say, you're throwing the long bomb, you're throwing the home run ball. You don't have to do that, right? I mean, it's you can march down the field. I'm sticking with football. You march down the field incrementally. Keep making first downs, keep making positive plays, and celebrate those intermediate little victories along the way towards your goal, and not be concerned about, yesterday my life was a flaming train wreck in whatever area it is that you're looking to improve, and today I want to host my own show and collect a trophy for having accomplished a thing and turned my life around. Like, no, the ship turns slowly, and you have to, when you embrace that kind of mentality, you do end up finding out that things can change significantly, and my experience of life has improved significantly. So, getting back, so boys, yeah, I love the way I can go off on a tangent with the best of them, man. I mean, these videos, I really, again, my goal is to get them to be shorter, and I know I'm going to wrap this one up pretty quickly, hoping to. So back to weight loss. 265, 220, or 215 leaving Guam, 220 resuming things back here in Japan, and so that's beginning of September. So going September, October into November here. Last week I came in at 206, and that represented a pretty good week. This week was a little bit of a rougher week. We went out a few more times. I'm talking about just so my aside becomes relevant. We actually kind of had a few more bigger eating days. I will say there's some challenge for me in being here in Japan. Like, when we go out to eat, it's of course Japanese food, and one thing about, obviously, with Asian foods, there are two things. Right, you get a lot of sodium because there's a lot of like soy sauce based things and sauces that are, I mean, if you know your Asian foods, right, soy sauce is going to be heavily involved. It's a base in soups. It's flavors everything, and etc. And the other thing is, it's all very noodle and rice, and so both of those things kind of like, when we go out and have not even a heavy, I wouldn't even say heavy, just what I think is a normal Japanese meal, those meals tend to sit on me for a day. And I tend to see that, like the next day after we go out to a Japanese meal, even if it's not particularly heavy, it's like I'll have a bowl of udon noodle. Well, you've got a bowl of noodles in a very salty broth, and I get a lot of water retention with that, and it's like that's all it is, just a bowl of soup, large bowl of soup, but that's the entire meal. Or whatever, you eat sushi, and again, with the sauce on it, and everything is sitting in a little thing of rice, and you've actually consumed quite a bit of rice by the end of the thing. So the next morning I'm usually up, and so that happened a few times. So last week at 206, I'm going to say most of the week I was weighing in. There was several days in a row where it went up from there, and it got a little bit frustrating. But I'm pleased to say that after really, and I think it's more water weight retention because that additional sodium, and then you have a day where you don't eat that and don't go, eat a lot of salt, and things flush out, and then your weight sort of rebalances itself, and etc. So anyway, the update for, again, November the 19th, 2021. I was at 205 this morning. Actually, I weighed in. You know, I don't trust the scales. I don't trust the scales, and with good reason. You know, you step on, you step off, step on, and the damn thing will give you several. So for days and days and days in a row, it was rock solid. You know, I get on it, don't jump on it, get on it, give me a weight, do it again, give me the exact same reading 2 times in a row. I feel solid about it. Da da da. This morning, for whatever reason, it gave me a 204.8, and then it gave me a 203.5 the second time. I was like, well, I know that's not true. And so, you know, like, all right, I'm going to go here and get, and then the third and fourth weigh-ins were 205.1. So that's what I'm recording. So I don't know if I'm at 204, it doesn't matter, right? I'm at 205, down from 206, roughly lost a pound this week, even on a week that, you know, so that's a modest weight loss on a week where we actually went out and ate a few, you know, kind of larger meals, and you know what, and even, you know, that includes a couple, you know, having some small desserts with those things, and etc. So, you know, it's a balance, and it's a gradual, and it's, you know, look, the whole thing is pointing in a good direction. Again, I'm down 15 pounds in the last, you know, which, you know, again, doctors and weight loss experts and nutritionists will tell you, you know, that's what you're shooting for, right? A pound to a pound and a half to 2 pounds a week is healthy weight loss. So given that, you know, in the time that we've been here in Japan, from 220 down into, and, you know, I'm celebrating the idea that I'm in the single digits, right? 205, I mean, anything less than 210, we're now into the single digits, and the next, you know, I mean, we're right around on the horizon is out of the 200 lands, and then we start talking about getting into, you know, where my weight loss ultimately settles at a good healthy weight, somewhere in the 100 and something or others pounds. But you know, I'm very pleased with that, and will continue to be. As for writing, you know, I broke ground this week on the script for the second script in my fan fiction project, which I guess I really don't have any reason to not talk about it, right? I don't know how that fan fiction project is going to evolve. I am doing a thing called the Animated Donnerverse, which is I'm attempting to create some animated full-length feature, self-produced, or, you know, I've got some ideas for where I may go with it. I think I might have probably talked about everything since my birth in my last video, because again, it was like an hour and a half. It was literally a movie. No one's watching that. No one is ever watching all of that video. But I had a lot going on, and a lot to, you know, again, sort of catch up on. Yeah, so I'm on to the second story for that, and that's coming along a little bit. But I've also started helping write a book. I'm involved in a book project. I know I did talk about with Mitchell German, who is creator of a story building or screenplay building course called the Mega Course, and is the developer, creator, co-creator of the software that uses the principles from his Mega Course. He came out with Plot Control, which again is this sort of, it's a number of exercises, and not a step by step for helping you create your story. It kind of gives you a framework for how to think about your story. Takes you, again, it gives you a number of different exercises, all of which leads up to helping build an outline, And then even his software has a Final Draft compatible. If you're a screenwriter, you would know Final Draft is kind of like the Coca-Cola of screenwriting softwares. It's sort of an industry standard. There's others that are frequently used. None is there. There is not a single standard, but one can rest assured that if you have a screenplay in Final Draft format, that you probably can get a lot of traction with it in your ability to share it with other people, and they will have Final Draft and be able to read that file if you're looking to do collaborative work, etc. So it's kind of a good one to have, though there are a lot of people that swear by ones that are like there are free version softwares that do screenwriting, screenplay formatting, etc. And I don't know much about those. There's a couple that I've worked with over the years that, again, Final Draft I moved to from a thing called Movie Magic. I began my screenwriting, once I moved to computers. I actually had predates, if you can believe that, right? I used to have a word processor, so screenwriting format was something that I did myself. But you believe me, in the modern world, that we are blessed to have these wonderful softwares that do all of that formatting essentially for you and give you an amazing amount of control. Because, again, assuming if you know nothing about screenplays are very, very highly formatted, where names of characters appear on the page and the margins for that delineate where dialogue goes, and the wider margins that are where the descriptions of actions and things that are going on go, and different things that designate pieces of information that are important for directors and cinematographers and the people that do the business of making a film, so that when they read your script, there's kind of a shorthand to it, etc. Probably no one is ever going to watch this particular video and not know about screenwriting, and so that was likely a waste of time. But you never know. You might be someone who's not coming from the world of movie making and screenwriting, and you just learned a little something about screenwriting. But the important thing is that, so in Mitchell German's software, Plot Control, at least in the more current versions of it, I don't think it began life as one where that also included that. But yeah, now it's really complete. It'll take you from soup to nuts on building a screenplay from your inception of ideas, take you through some exercises that really kind of help you solidify your story and make it balanced and relevant. And I don't want to give away any proprietary secrets for people that aren't his direct customers or students of his course. But that's kind of the general gist of it is you understand that you have to build a story, and this is a good methodology for doing that. And then again, is it will build it into a full a timeline outline, and then help there are the ability to then organize these all of the bits and pieces on your timeline into sequential, like virtual index cards, and then be able to import that or reference them into an actual editor that's in Final Draft, a Final Draft compatible editor. So you can do every bit of your screenwriting through that piece of software if that's what you choose to do. And in the intervening years since he first developed that, he now has continued to, with his obviously business partners and developers, has created or adapted that essential formula for other applications. Novel writers, there's a product called Chapter Control. If you're a TV writer and or producer, there's a thing called Episode Control, based on, again, the same essential software and a lot of these essential storytelling principles. which also translate, by the way, to business applications and marketing and other sorts of things. They had a thing for college students who are looking to write essays for, excuse me, for example. So again, any sort of storytelling application. And so, I'm working with him to. He's now got a thing. He's sort of updated it all. I mean, obviously, as time goes by, right? It's any of your favorite how-to books or gurus, people that are teaching just about anything. Naturally, as time goes by, they continue to think, refine, hone. It evolves. The core principle is not to say that like the original mega course for screenwriters is not a great, completely. I mean, I wouldn't hesitate at all to recommend the mega course for somebody who's sort of looking to break into screenwriting, has an interest in it. I think it's a really, really valuable class. I think I recommend plot control software, and so much so that I had I full disclosure, Mitchell uses a testimonial and unsolicited. I mean, I just sent him an email kind of praising his insights and the quality of the information in the course. And, we've made a little bit of a connection here now to where I'm working with him to adapt. And again, starting this weekend, he's updated and extricated, right? So where the mega course is for screenwriters and details, he goes. I mean, it's sort of a real a sort of a very soup to nuts course, taking you through all of these principles about building story and da 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 da. But everything else involved as well with screenwriting, right? So there's a lot of things that are very screenwriting specific about. Again, some of that formatting stuff that we talked about, and this, what he's doing now is trying to lay a foundation for all of these products, right? Because since all of in developing all of these various softwares and recognizing that these core ideas about storytelling are applicable across any kind of format, any sort of story, he's sort of distilled out what's not relevant to or what's only relevant to screenwriting, but this essence into what he's calling your storytelling potential, which is likely, almost certainly, like 100% definitely going to be the title of the book that is associated with the online course that again begins this Sunday. Here, so today's the 19th, 21st, right? I guess it's the 21st. Will be the first of a 6-week ongoing seminar, and then there's additional workshop classes associated with it, and some one-on-one consulting time with Mitchell that for those people that have bought into the Your Storytelling Potential course. But this book version, so I'm going to be going through the course, and I'm having discussions with Mitchell about again taking this information and putting it into a book format. So that's kind of really the biggest thing going on for me right now. In addition to and of course all the personal projects that I've got, and I'm going to have to see where things go and where they stand with. The people that I've been trying to collaborate with on the comics and graphic novel stuff. But that's kind of, it's sort of ever present. I mean, I think anybody that's a creative, you understand a little bit about, bringing different projects along, and some things kind of cool off and other things kind of get onto the front burner and other things get, back burner, and then you got a file of rejected stuff over here, right? And so certainly I'm not out of the game of I have very much desire to see the ideas that have been developing over these many months now for comics and graphic novels to become realized. But I'm these other things that I'm doing right now are taking precedence because they're hot and they're self-contained. The book is that's a real, like, I've signed a contract, so that's a real opportunity that I've got to give my full attention and to, and that's what I'm doing, and you know what, I think that says more, much more really than I was hoping to get this be like a 15, but we're 40 seems to be where I come in week to week almost no matter what. A lot of diarrhea of the mouth, but hopefully that was entertaining enough or engaging enough, and I appreciate you checking in with me. It's all comical, and we will see you next week. And until next week, you have a great week. Thank you very much.